Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining me during the first Majestic Silver PowerPoint presentation or corporate presentation. I find it unusual or unfortunate that I can't be there in Munich conference, the annual conference, which we've been part of since 2006, is quite honestly my most favorite conference of the year, and it's something I look forward to. And this year, unfortunately, we have to do this virtual. So I look forward to seeing you all in 2021. But in the meantime, we'll do this electronically. And so let me get into the corporate presentation. We have released our financials now. They're coming out in a couple of days, and by the time you see this recording, they'll be public. We had a pretty darn good third quarter as far as I'm concerned, but getting into some of the basics, 60% of our revenues from the sale of silver. We only produce two metals. We produce silver and gold, which puts us in a fairly unique category. We also have all our assets in Mexico, one country. We have three producing mines in Mexico. Over the last few years, we have decided to shut a couple of the smaller mines down. I think we've optimized the business quite substantially and been able to, as a result, make the profits that we're currently making as a result of some of those difficult decisions that we made over the last couple of years. As you can see, looking at this slide, we have a market cap of around 2.3 billion. It's been a little bit sideways. I would have hoped that the market capitalization would have performed a little bit better, over this last 6 months with the improved metal prices. But I think that, with the elections and with all the disarray that's going on in the marketplace right now, I think, the mining sector as a whole, including First Majestic, is somewhat held back. I'm looking forward to, strong 2021, with continued improved metal prices. We ended the year off with a pretty strong treasury, or actually the last quarter, $232 million in the bank. This is a record amount of capital that we've got in our treasury. It says a lot about some of the investments that some major shareholders have made, including Eric Sprott, who came in the quarter with a very large investment, shoring up our treasury. But also a good chunk of that money is from profits as well, which we're pretty pleased to see. So as many of you know, the assets are spread around Mexico. We have the 8 assets spread over 9 states. The 3 dots in red there are producing assets. The San Dimas is by far our largest mine. Santa Elena is currently being invested in, and it is a pretty good sized mine, but it's going to be much larger over the next couple of years, we expect. And Encantada is very much steady state. The rest of the portfolio, we haven't decided really, what we're going to do with this portfolio. We have been approached by many potential partners that may take on some of these assets. We don't know yet. It's still a little bit too early to say, but we're active, trying to optimize this portfolio as best as we can over the next 1 to 2 years. So watch for news on what this portfolio looks like, a year from now or 2 years from now, because there is, as I said, work being done on that. So the production, we expected a much better 2020. No one expected, the COVID situation to occur. We had shut down our mines for close to 3 months, from March to really about June. And that, of course, negatively impacted the production. We're now getting back up to 100% production. We're not quite there yet. I'll get into that a little bit more as we get through this presentation, but still we're going to end up 2020 with a decent year. I think 2021 is going to be another record year. At least that's what our plans are currently, to achieve some substantial growth in 2021 and 2022. Looking at our guidance, we did suspend guidance, like all the other miners, when the COVID situation happened and, several mines around the world were shut down. We had little choice but to suspend our guidance. So we reinstated this guidance back in July. The numbers actually showed an improvement in costs, but on the production side, it's about 1 million ounces thereabouts, or maybe about 1.5 million ounces thereabouts, a little bit lower than what our original guidance was back in January. But from a cost perspective, we're looking pretty good. Exploration is now back on track. It took a while, to get everyone back to site, but I'm happy to say that we've got 26 rigs active in the business currently, and that number is going to increase. We're going to look at, we're actually in the process of budgeting our 2021 exploration program, and we've got a ton of targets. And as you saw on the first slide, we've got over 350,000 hectares, almost 700,000 acres of land in Mexico that we're hoping to obviously spend more time and more money to develop or explore this very large land package within the business. So just jumping to San Dimas, this is our biggest mine. This came into our portfolio in May of 2018. It took quite some time to buy this asset. Actually, I was in negotiations for close to 10 years trying to buy this mine. It's an amazing asset. It's an amazing mine. It's the largest silver gold mine in the state of Durango. Which is one of the most important mining states in all of Mexico. It's quite frankly one of the most important mines in the entire country of Mexico. It's been in production for over 300 years thereabouts, and it's going to be in production for way into the future. And it's a big land package, super prolific area of Mexico, and the grades are fantastic, as you can see on this slide. We got as you see in Q3 there, almost 300 grams silver, over 3 grams of gold. On an equivalency basis, you're talking about, it's close to 600, equivalent ounces of silver per ton, which is pretty amazing. And we're very happy and pleased that we have this asset in our portfolio. But, it is an old mine. It hasn't had a lot of investment over the last 30 years. And now that we're new owners of this property, we are investing substantial amount of capital over the next couple of years. As you can see on this slide, the hydroelectric dam is one of the areas that we're going to be investing in. But just the mill itself, it's an old mill. It needs optimization. It needs modernization. And these are things we've done within the business, throughout the different assets in our portfolio. So it's nothing new. We've done it before, and we expect to come out with some news over the next couple of months and start to, tell the investors exactly what we're doing here, because the next 2 to 3 years at San Dimas look pretty exciting for us. Going to Encantada, sorry I jumped ahead here, but very steady state. Encantada has actually turned into a pretty nice mine for us. It went through a couple of challenging years back in 2015, 2016. It was losing a little bit of money, and we started investing capital in 2017, 2018, and we changed some processes, and recoveries ended up going up quite dramatically, as it says on the slide here, between 70 and 80%, which historically is quite unusual, because if you go back 30 some odd years, the recoveries here have always been quite low. And that's what caused it to lose money in some of the low metal price environments that we experienced in 2015, 2016. So with the investments that we made, now this has turned into a pretty nice operation. It's pretty steady state. We don't expect it's going to be much bigger than it currently is, but 100% silver in the form of Dory bars. It produces nothing else except silver, which is a great place to be for any silver producing company like First Majestic. Santa Elena, this asset came into our portfolio in the end of 2015. We were happy to get this tucked in. It's a big land package, lots of decent grades in the area. But this has been a blending operation. So prior to us buying this property, this mine, this was an open pit mine. And they converted it over to an underground mine to exploit a particular vein that was quite nice grade. And over the last 5-6 years, this vein has been exploited, and it's been really the reason for the profitability of this operation. But because of this was an old open pit, there was a number or actually millions of tons of above ground waste, or what we'd call heap pads, sitting on surface, that we decided to recycle as part of this process. So we've been circulating about 40%, 35-40% of the throughput of 3,000 tons per day through the heaps, or from the heaps, and the balance of the feed has been coming from the mine. Of course, the mine is where the high grades are, and the heaps are where the low grades are. But at current metal prices, it does pretty good. But we were very fortunate to discover a couple of years ago, actually back in 2017. It says 2016 on this slide. I thought it was 2017, but nevertheless, we discovered this ore body. It's only 4 kilometers away from the current mill. And it's turned out to be quite a nice size ore body, which is coming up on the second slide, but or the next slide. But you can see by just the size of this property, this is over 100,000 hectares. This is over 200,000 acres of land. It's 70 kilometers long and something in the order of 25 to 30 kilometers wide. There's geology all over the place. The red dot is where the Ermitano project is, and that X mark is where the mill, the Santa Elena mill, is sitting. As you can see, they're quite close. But we know of many, many geological structures that are yet to be built. I think as of last count, we had 8 rigs operating here, but we want to get that up to about 10 or 12 rigs in 2021 to really start to exploit or explore, I should say, the areas around the Ermitano project, because we know there's a lot of parallel structures which we want to explore. But also, with Silvercrest's discovery of the Las Chipas property, which is north of the green area, Los Hernandez, which is ours, the Silvercrest properties in the white square there, which they've had some pretty interesting discoveries, as probably many investors know. But we do surround that property, and we have a couple rigs up there now. But we want to get some more rigs active in that region of this property as well. So look for that in 2021. It's a very exciting part of Mexico. Many people, geologists, call this part of Mexico the Nevada of Mexico. It's apparently the geologists feel this is part of the same geological trend, which is exciting. So we expect that this mill will be operating for decades in the future as a result of the prolific nature of this property. So, and this is the Ermitano project. This is what I was referring to. So this is that red dot, on this slide here. And this was discovered back in 2016. You see all the work that's been going on. This has been going on for almost a year now. You see, a ton of infrastructure. You see the big camp there. You see the big adits or portals into the side of the mountain. And we're well into this ore body where we'll be extracting ore over the next couple of quarters. And we'll be at a point where we'll be actually feeding ore to the mill in mid-2021. And the nice thing about this is that this is going to displace the lower grade feed that's coming from the heaps. As I said earlier, the Santa Elena main vein is where the grade is, and the old heaps are where the lower grade material is. It's still economic, but this ore body is going to displace that feed. So 100% of the feed going through that mill will be from underground feed, a combination of Ermitano and the old Santa Elena main vein. And you can see the grades here. And if you just go back and do your comparisons, you'll see that there's about 10 times more grade in Ermitano than there is in the heaps. So despite the fact that the throughput will still remain about the same, at around 2,900 or 3,000 tons per day, the production will go up because the grade goes up. And when that happens, costs go down. So we're pretty excited about that. I didn't cover the LNG. It's also Santa Elena has been converted over to LNG. There may be a slide coming up on that in a second, but I just wanted to plug that in as well because there's a major cost driver occurring at Santa Elena in combination to grade. So going to this, that's our research facility in the bottom photograph there. It's an ISO 9000 certified lab. There's about, close to 100 people that work in that lab, a lot of, very sophisticated metallurgists and geologists. And this is kind of the heart of the business where they do all our, very, very detailed type of metallurgical work and geological work. And, I guess I was saying, if it doesn't pass muster going through this research facility, then it doesn't get adopted by the business. So it's got to get passed through here first before we accept it. And the Higg mill was one of the major successes of this research that we have started, back in 2014, actually. And this Higg, I took this photograph myself, or at least the one on the left, the yellow one where it's open. I took that photograph in Austria back in August of 2018. This mill, fully completed, in the middle picture here, arrived on site in January of 2019. And by July of 2019, it was up and running. And it's just been an amazing machine for us. We've now bought another two. We're going to be installing these at all our mines over the next year or two. And if we do any other M&A activity in the future, we'll likely adopt the same technology. It uses it uses half the electricity, and it uses also no steel balls, which is reduces cost, and just the fact that it can grind down to the size that it grinds down to, it actually uses less chemicals and less reagents. And when we did the original economics, we knew that we needed about 2% more silver and gold from the ore to make this pay. To put that in place, you can see it there on that picture. It's right in the middle of that picture. It's a pretty big machine, and all the plumbing around it, it costs about 12 to 14 million bucks to put that in place. And we ended up getting 4 to 5% recovery. You see the COVID situation, of course, the recovery dropped because throughputs dropped. But pre-COVID, you saw that the major impact from the high 80s to the mid 90s occurred. So this investment easily paid for itself, and it was quite exciting and turned a lot of heads internationally because this is the first ever Higg mill installed in Latin America. It's also the first ever Higg mill in the world that actually processes mine ore, which is quite unique because most of the Higgs that are installed worldwide, and there's only about a dozen of them, they're usually for reprocessing. And we're actually looking at also using the same technology for reprocessing as well, but that's step two. Step one, we want to get this into the mines and take out the balls, reduce costs for electricity, and reduce costs for reagents, and it's proving to be very successful. But this technology is going to be a game changer for the mining sector as a whole, and we're quite excited about being one of the leaders in this area. This shows what we've really done. I mentioned 2014 earlier, and 2014 was a kind of a major turnaround for us. I'm not sure if investors remember, maybe you do, particularly if you've been invested in the metal sector as long as I have. But silver hit $50 an ounce in April of 2011, and it kind of between 2012 and 2013, it held up okay. It was in the mid 30s and low 40s during that period of time. So we're still doing okay. But in 2014, silver prices actually crashed through 20 bucks an ounce. And in June of 2014, silver prices hit $16 an ounce, which was pretty devastating for us and devastating for the entire industry. So we had little choice but to start to adopt technologies. So I put together a team of technical experts and gave them a mandate to, look for any areas in the business that they could find to save money. And they did a fantastic job. During this 5-year period, they actually reduced costs by about 50%, which is pretty amazing. We were losing money in 2014 and 2015, and we finally turned a profit in 2016, which was, as a result of this hard work. And look at the recoveries. We were in the mid 60s, and now we're in basically the high 90s the high 80s or the low 90s. And that's a lot of extra metal coming out of the ore that were produced. And, we have fixed costs that are there despite how many tons of ore we take out of the ground. So we can actually extract more silver and gold from the same rock we're taking out of the ground. That's basically pure profit. And that's what we've done. And this is not over. We are expecting to see a lot more advances in technology over the next couple of years. There's a number of other things we're doing in our research and development facility. And also the HIG mill has not been installed yet at San Dimas or Encantada, and that's yet to come. So we're expecting a lot more improvements in the business over the next couple of years, just as a result of technology. Something that I'm very excited about. And just about to end here, I touched on the LNG. This is Santa Elena is our last mine that's actually getting energy from diesel. And we're expecting to save, several $1 million a year on energy costs as a result of the conversion from diesel to LNG. And you can see the photograph of the LNG facility. It didn't miss a beat. It did slow down a little bit during the COVID situation, but the contractors kept working and it's almost finished. You could see that building. It's an amazing facility. So we're very excited about that. And it's probably going to go into testing before Christmas. I don't think it'll be fully up and running until about Q2 2021, but it's going to, as I said, save a lot of capital and also be much more environmentally friendly. It's very little pollution, and it's just the environmental footprint is much lower as a result of this major change. And you can see the HIG arriving at San Dimas, and this was a big coup for us. Right in the middle of COVID, this big piece of equipment arrived in Mazatlan, Mexico, came from Europe through the Panama Canal, and it was sitting there on the port, and everything was closed, and we wanted to get this thing to site because we didn't want to just leave it sitting there in the port. And the government was nice enough to give us a permit to actually transport it all the way from the coast to the mine, central Mexico, and it took 3 days to get there. But it actually worked out quite well because during COVID there was very little people on the highway, so it was actually probably the safest time to be transporting such a very large piece of equipment on this on the highways within Mexico. So we're very happy that did in fact occur. So this slide, many of you know, I talk about purity, all the time. We are in fact, the purest silver company in the world. Something that we try to keep intact. It's tough. There's a lot of gold mines out there for sale, and silver mines are just rare animals, and we're very unique, and we're very, happy that we have such a silver-centric portfolio. But it is a struggle to maintain because silver mines are rarer than most people actually believe they are. And going to our breakdown of our production, I'm just going to fly through this. Our short position, many of investors know that the short position is quite high in the stock, and this is probably related to, the world economy, or, maybe I'm not exactly sure, hedging. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but definitely the short position on the stock is quite high. And I'd ask all of you to contact the company. Please go look at our website. I'm available on Twitter. You can look me up at Keith_Neumeyer. But please feel free to call the company or email the company at any time. We have a few people, many of you probably know, Todd Anthony, our VP Corporate Development, who many of you have met, Jalarius, VP Marketing, who many of you also know, and we also have Mark Carruthers in Investor Relations, who's also available. So if you have any further questions, feel free to contact us. Thanks for watching today.